Have you ever thought about how a watch actually works? And I'm not talking about the difference between the hour, the minute, and the second, and how we can tell the time apart. But instead, how does this device work under the hood? We wear a watch to be able to tell the time and obviously keep to schedule. But most of us don't usually sit down and think, how does this device in our wrist really work under the hood? Well, that's what we're here to talk about today. At the core of it all, it's something referred to as the movement. You can think of the movement like the engine of the watch. It's what keeps it running. And we basically have three forms of movement: the quartz movement, the mechanical, and the automatic movement. Let's start from the quartz movement. If you've ever taken your watch to get the battery changed because of the fact that it stopped running at some point in time, then congratulations, you're putting on a quartz watch. Or if when you take your watch close to your ear, you hear that ticking sound that occurs every second, well, that's a quartz movement as well. So how does a quartz movement actually work? Well, it comprises of a small battery that sends a burst of electricity to a quartz crystal, and this crystal vibrates a lot of times per second, roughly 32,768 beats per second. Isn't that incredible? Who would have thought that this small device on our wrist comprises of a quartz crystal that vibrates so many times per second? And what does this vibration do? Well, an electric circuit in the quartz movement takes this vibration and converts them to electrical pulses. The watch literally pulses once per second. That's the reason why you hear that ticking sound in your quartz watch whenever it's operating. This makes a quartz watch to be quite accurate, but then pretty simple and affordable to create. That's the reason why you find quartz watches in more cheaper and affordable brands. You can spot them in the likes of Casio and Timex. So if you're looking for a watch that is pretty affordable, simple, and also accurate, then a quartz watch is the way to go. Now let's move on to the mechanical movement. If you own a watch which requires you to manually wind the crown every now and then to keep it moving, then most likely you have a mechanical movement. Unlike a quartz watch that requires the battery to keep it running, a mechanical watch doesn't require any of that. Instead, it works by simple and precise engineering. Within the mechanical watch, it's something referred to as the mainspring. What does that do? When you wind the crown of your mechanical watch, it tightens that spring. And over the course of hours, days, or even months, that spring unwinds and sends power to a series of gears and wheels. And this gives your watch the power and energy to keep running. Also, unlike a quartz movement that sends one pulse per second, a mechanical movement sends 6 to 8 pulses per second, which ensures that your mechanical watches has more of a graceful sweep instead of the jumping movement of the second hand you find in quartz movement. That's also a cue for you to know if your watch is actually running on a mechanical movement or a quartz movement. So if someone shows you a watch and tells you this is a mechanical watch and you notice the second hand is jumping, chances are that's a quartz movement. A mechanical watch also has something referred to as the power reserve. You can think of the power reserve like the fuel of the watch. It's what determines how long before the watch will be required to be wound once more to give it the power it needs to keep running. And the power reserve usually spans from a couple of hours to days and even months in some instances, depending on the brand of mechanical watch you have on. Because of the amount of engineering, ingenuity, and craftsmanship, as well as how expensive it is to make a mechanical movement in comparison to a quartz movement, you would usually spot mechanical movements in more expensive brands, in the likes of Rolex, Omega, and Patek Philippe. You would easily spot mechanical movements in their watches. So if you're someone who value the reliability and also the engineering in mechanical movements, or you want your watch to have a bit of history with it, then you most likely want to get a watch with a mechanical movement. Going back to the analogy of a vehicle, a mechanical watch can be compared to a manual transmission vehicle, while an automatic watch can be compared to an automatic transmission. Just like a manual transmission requires the driver to put in a bit of work to get the vehicle moving, a mechanical watch requires the same of its wearer. An automatic watch, on the other hand, does a bit of that work for you. An automatic watch works in a similar principle to a mechanical watch, comprising of a series of springs and gears and wheels that keeps the watch going, but with an extra feature, something referred to as the weighted rotor. The weighted rotor sends power and energy to the mainspring, enabling the mainspring to have enough power to power the rest of the watch. And this weighted rotor is usually located at the back of an automatic movement. It's more like a semicircular metal that rotates freely whenever the wearer of the watch is going about doing their daily activities. That's why an automatic watch is given the name of a self-winding mechanical watch. So it's still a way for you to spot if your watch is actually an automatic watch or a mechanical watch. So turn to the back of your watch and look for a semicircular sphere that seems to be rotating on its own. And if you can find that, then most likely you're putting on an automatic movement. Just as a mechanical watch has a power reserve that determines how long between each winding you will be required to once more go ahead and wind the crown and give it the energy it needs to keep going. An automatic watch also has a power reserve. But you might ask, why does it need a power reserve? You see, if you have an automatic watch and you keep it on your shelf for a long period of time that exceeds that power reserve, and you bring that watch back on to put it on once more, guess what? You would have to manually wind it to give it that initial energy it needs to keep running. Bummer, right? But then, if you keep on putting on that watch without keeping it in your shelf for a long period of time, well, you won't have to do that. And the watch will kick in with that autonomy that initially drove you to getting an automatic watch in the first place. So next time, whenever you pick up your watch to tell the time, know that behind this small device on your wrist is a world of craftsmanship, engineering, and precision that all works in harmony to tell you the time. So if you enjoyed what I talked about today and you would love to see more of similar content, do click the like button, also subscribe, and I'd like you to drop a comment. Tell me, what type of movements do you have currently running on your watch or your watch collection? Until next time, see you soon.